Welcome to our new summer release of 2023. And before we dive into all of the new novelties, let us first introduce ourselves. My name is Karen, this is my colleague, Niek, and together we'll be introducing the whole release to you. We're both SAC experts, so we try to keep up with everything.
And we're also always active with SAP Analytics Cloud with our customers as well.
Exactly.
So there's a lot of small release updates, but interesting ones nonetheless, where we'll go over. So first of all, there's the update for the unified story, planning functionalities, then administration and security, and then the Microsoft Office add-in had some interesting updates as well, but we'll also show a quick demo because it's easier to show that way. First of all, there's an update for the license and content network. So there's a new license concept now. Instead of a user-based license concept, there's now a memory-based license concept. And the focus now lies on the content network for everything related to transport, because previously you had to use the file repository, which is now deprecated to download and export files to your local PC. Now it's everything with the content network. There's an update for the administration and service management as well. So now easier to navigate through to your tenants and locate the files there because they added shared with me and owned by me view. Finally, you're also able to expose your SAC workspace in the administration overview tool to see the overview of your workspace, and it's easier to maintain them and to navigate through them.
There's also quite a few changes in the story design, and it's specifically the optimized story design that we're talking about here. First of all, we have now the Add Filter button in the context menu. We have also the capability to show our totals in the charts. Also, you right-click on your chart and you see the show or hide totals. And then we can configure threshold preferences, which means that if you have a team and you see that a few people or most of the people in your team are using the same default preferences for their thresholds, that you can set them as a default, which means that you can say that the default threshold is no longer the little icon in front of your numbers, but is, for example, the background color. In your team, you can configure it so that not every person has to change it to their preferences.
It's easier to define a default for your whole tenants that people can reuse it instead of everyone just having to apply the same theming individually. Now they can reuse it as well.
Exactly. Okay. Then we have the sorting and the ranking on percentages and absolute variances, but in the chart specifically, because in tables it was already possible. So they try to keep the capabilities between the charts and the tables, they're trying to keep them on the same level. For the charts, we have a new context menu capability, and it is to exclude a member. We could already filter, but now it's possible to select just one part of your visualization and exclude it altogether. And then the story filters on top of your screen or on the left of your screen, you can change the order in which they're sorted. So you have a default sorting on your dimension members, but now it's possible to filter them ascending or descending. So the same capability that we saw for the charts to exclude a member is also possible for the tables here. And then the last functionality that has been improved is the variable prompt. So if in the model is there's a variable, then you open your story and you get your prompt to fill in the required variables. But right now you can also show the technical names. You can see which ones are mandatory and which ones are available for multi-selections.
So it's possible to see your data in different visualizations and pick a specific set of your data to include or exclude them, show them in different ways, and adjust the prompt as well. Then.
Exactly.
Okay. There's a few interesting updates for the data exploration as well, but I'll be showing that with a live demo.
It's easier.
So let's jump into the system.
All right.
You see here the data analyzer with a few different functionalities.
It's in a chart.
Yeah, it is. So previously we had only the option to show it in a table, but now it's possible to adjust it and, for example, apply a bar column chart or a line, a pie, and a donut. And they also added the possibility to add conditional formatting. So, for example, define a threshold. Like we see here, it's only possible to show it in a table. So if I now change it to the table, it changes to a table.
The classic view.
The classic view. And now I have the option to apply conditional formatting. So for example, I define the threshold for this measure. Say that it's good above 1,000. And it's directly applied in the table itself. So we see there's specific member combinations that are showing thresholds and other ones that are not. Now it's also possible to exclude a member directly in the table, only for the table at the moment.
It's the exactly same view as a story design.
Exactly. So they applied the same functionalities that you were able to do in a story, now in the data analyzer as well. And finally, they also added an easy way to apply a cascading effect for different dimensions with a simple click of the button, which was only possible previously in the member dialog showing here.
Oh yeah, there you can exclude members, but
yeah.
Then there's also a big change in the data modeling. It's one of the biggest changes in the release. Now it's possible that if you want to change your query or the data source behind your model, you don't have to set up your query all over again from scratch if you want to just add one field. If you have a new field on your source system and it comes through in your query, you can add it. So you don't have to remap all of your fields again. You can just select your new field, drag and drop it in the query definition that was already existing, and then go through the mapping with only your one field, because all of the other mappings will still be intact. You don't have to remap all of them. And then, of course, you have to validate that the new field is correct, which means that the flexibility is increased, and it is so much more easier than if you want to add one field, then you have to redo all of your field selections, all of your mappings, all of your validation. That's not necessary anymore.
So it's possible because in the present, in the past, you were only able to add additional filtering, but now you can simply just add a different field instead of recreating everything from scratch.
Exactly. Or you can just delete a field. If you say that a dimension is no longer necessary, you can delete the dimension, delete the field, delete the mappings, and you don't have to redo the whole query just to delete one field.
Okay.
You can just adapt it. Another big change is the length of your dimension texts. So every dimension, like we know, has an ID and a description. And this description was limited in the past to 250 characters. Right now, it is limited to 5,000 characters.
Big increase.
Exactly. I have a client where we have ID, description, and description too, but that's no longer necessary because you don't have the limitation anymore. The limitation is 5,000 characters, but it's much more flexible. So it will be used a lot, I think.
Nice. Enterprise planning had some interesting updates as well.
Okay.
So now there's the functionality to have a version conflict resolution, because previously you were only in a scenario where two people are adjusting the same specific set of the data. You were only able to overwrite the changes or revert your changes, but now it's possible to partially publish your data, so only publish the parts of the data that are not in conflict.
Oh, okay.
And there's also the possibility now copy a cell or a specific value to multiple cells at once, which in turn again increases the ease of use to enter data into SAC.
Absolutely. Makes it all less, it takes less time now.
Yep.
Then we have the analytics cataloging. it's the change where SAP wants to focus on most, I guess. So SAP now wants the SAC platform to not just be a platform for stories and models and more, but also for your workbooks. With the new release, there's also a new release of your add-in, and if you update your add-in, you will see that you have a new way to save your workbook, and it is save it on the SAP Analytics Cloud platform, which means that if you save it, you'll have a pop-up and you have the exact same folder directory then on your SAP system. And then you can save it, you can share it with your colleagues to work together, but it makes SAC just like your point of entry for all of your analytical documents.
Okay.
It's all of them will be there. You can also add links to PowerPoints, Word documents on a SharePoint. You can also just add a link there, which means that you can literally include all of your files there.
Everything analytics related can be found in SAC now. Okay.
Voilà.
There are a few interesting features for the Microsoft Office integration or the SAP Analytics Cloud add-in as well. So now there's the possibility to automatically see the refreshed data when executing a data action in the SAC add-in, and then your changes can be shown and it's ready for publishing, which in turn again increases the flexibility for planning scenarios in the SAP Analytics Cloud add-in.
Absolutely.
And there's also the option to now not only include specific members, but also exclude them, which in turn again improves the usability and flexibility of the tool.
It's exactly the same as the stories in Data Explorer.
Yeah. And now there's the long-awaited feature to now undo or redo everything in the SAP Analytics Cloud add-in.
If you want to know more about the previous releases or you want to keep up to date and see our coming release as well, you can always take a look on our release page. And if you want to just follow us and see what's going on inside of Lexo, you can follow us on LinkedIn and see what's going on.
Thank you very much, and see you at the next release.